Hello, this is Cuckoo. In today's video, I'm going to do something unusual. You probably know this channel as me making electronic music and tutorials and synthesizer loaded videos and related things. And the fact is that long before I started doing that, I was an animator. I was doing animation and visual arts and illustration. So that was my profession for the most of my adult life. But then eventually I started taking this more seriously, and I made this YouTube channel and started growing that. So this is stuff that I really love to do. But once in a while, I look back into my visual side and I feel like I really missed something there. There's something about the visuals and the animation and storytelling, something I really miss. So this year, I made a New Year's resolution. And I told myself to paint a little bit more. And part of animation is to draw and also to paint background paintings once in a while. And that I did for quite some time. But as a painter, I never really painted a painting just for that being one painting. So that was something that I wanted to pursue this year in my weekend. So here's a painting. Here's a painting of my mom. It's a small oil on paper. Here's a small painting of me and my son, acrylic on paper. Here is a picture of the recycling bin, which I found particularly beautiful one day. And here is a picture of someone holding a picture of me and my friend Matthias. And actually it's Matthias that holds this picture. So he sent me this photo on the phone and said hey, I'm clearing out some stuff and look what I found. He's a very old good friend of mine, and we were like this, hanging out all the time together as teenagers. And it made me whoa, this is such a great photo. I need to paint this. This is perfect. So I started painting that. And not long after, a couple of days afterwards, he sent me another photo of my art teacher, or our art teacher. And I felt like, whoa, it's, he meant something to me then. I haven't been thinking about him that much, my art teacher, but he did something for me. He was very open-minded, a very timid and lovely person. And I couldn't help but feeling like he probably did some groundwork from what I've become today. And I start having all these thoughts. I think actually that is a very lovely photo. I want to paint that. So it's kind of full closure, painting my art teacher 25 years later, even more. Well, it's a long time ago. So in this video, I want to show you the process when I painted this picture, and all the way from sketching it and all the way to finishing and wrapping up. And it's still wet, so I'm just letting it dry. Enjoy. I hope you enjoy this video. I'm going to talk through the time lapse and share my thoughts on everything. So what I'm using here is pencil, paper, and paint, and oil, and water to clean it. I'm setting up this. I had an idea of making a frame around the actual painting on the paper itself. I've applied gesso. That what looks black is an acrylic foundation that is great to paint on. So first off, I'm gonna draw a sketch, and I'm looking at the photo and drawing a sketch here. And as you can see, right off the bat, I'm starting off really carefully, every stroke. I'm taking extra care to see that it's okay. And I'm trying to measure up the proportions and of everything, just to see that everything is proportionally right. Sometimes, now I'm measuring the angles by just holding up a pencil, checking the angle, and then putting down the pencil with the same angle just to see that like the hand is leaning the right way, and like the distance between the glasses and the forehead, and everything is correct. So I'm doing that. It's like a careful process. I mean, I'm not the type of person that likes to draw broad strokes and slowly zoning in on the end result. I'm kind of taking extra care from the very first stroke that I'm not sure if it's good or bad. I think maybe when you draw more freely, you can experiment more, but in this case, when I have a photo in front of me, I'm taking like careful steps from the very beginning, like there, making a change there because I wasn't leaning correctly with that buttoning on the shirt there. Typically when I paint and draw, it's very easy to go into the habit of straightening everything out slightly too much. So I'm trying to really be careful not to straighten out things, and to, if there is something odd about something, I try to keep that or maybe even emphasize it. So there you go. The sketch is looking fine, and likeness is there. The reason why I'm not showing the photo is because I don't like showing photographs without people's consent. So no photograph. So this pencil is very dry. I tried the other one you see out of focus there, which is more of a waxy pencil, but I went for the more dry one. It felt really good. This is the Gesso foundation for anything. This is the paper, Archer. It's a French paper, I think. Very good. I could paint straight onto this, but it's a white paper with kind of in the same ballpark as aquarelle watercolor paper, and I just find it a bit too dry to paint with oil. It sucks right into it, and I feel like I had to paint 4 times as much when painting straight onto paper. So these are the water mixable oils. They're real oil colors, but they're changed into also mix in water. I'm not using water for painting, just for cleaning. I could use water also for painting. These are the brushes, and typically I have a lot of brushes that this one in particular, it's not meant for oil colors at all. It's meant for holding a lot of water, but that, yeah, I find it nice if you're using a lot of oil, for instance, like I'll do later on, to have a brush which you can mold about a little bit, and you can make it pointy. I can make it more like many strands of hairs poking out in a wild disarray, and be a bit more flexible. There's a little cup that I use for linseed oil. I have a lot of different types of mediums that I've tried, all in the same brand and another brand for water mixable oils, but I found that just the linseed oil, which is water mixable, is very good. So here it's time to make the palette. It's going to be a lot of skin colors, and then a blue shirt with lots of nice flowers. And so all the skin colors is basically, it's based heavily around the palettes commonly known as the Zorn palette up there, with white and yellow ochre. Is it vermilion red? I can't remember now. I think so. And then black. But I've also added some other colors there as well, as you can see. And on the more blue side, I'm using it's going to be a very bright blue shirt, so I went for a lot of that, what's it calling it, cerulean blue as my main blue. Yeah. And lots of other, like phthalo green with a blue hue. And yeah, so let's go. I've chosen my brush based on the size of details that I'm gonna paint. So I was measuring it up, trying to start out with a solid skin color that matches up to the photo. I mean, I could change this around, but I want to really start out with a clear, good color that is like the main color represented in the photo, and trying to stay kind of true to that. And the thing is, when I first mix the colors, now it's just titanium white, yellow ochre, and vermilion red. I need to check the color. Right now it's very clear. It's a very bright, vibrant mix. As soon as the more colors I pull into the mix, the more kind of gray or dull it might become, because pigments are like slightly cancelling out each other, even though they're very close to each other. Like now I'm taking some of that other red and some of that raw umber. Is it raw umber? I think so. And I'm dyeing it down to more of a shadowy color. But as soon as I mix that into the other ones, you see that a lot of the intensity and saturation kind of goes away. So if I ever want to go back then to that initial color, I need to kind of start over from scratch with the mix. As you can see, I just plot out some colors all over the place just to have that clear color represented where I see it, so that I don't have to go back and mix it again. Yeah, well, you can just follow along and see what I painted. It's just mixing colors and putting it in places and trying to be careful. Yeah. My art teacher, as I remember him, it's a long time ago. It's like 25 or more years ago I last saw him. He's a very timid, warm person, a man of few words, I'd say. And he meant a lot to me without me realizing. He was just one of the teachers, and since I was very, very open for art, and I was like a sponge when it comes to art and creation in my teenage years. So everything revolving around art and creations, I was up for it, anything, and I loved it. So he was the teacher for 3 years to me, like from the year I was 15, 16, 17. It was great times. And I mean, he's the kind of person that really sees people and cares about people. And when you're a teenager, you don't really appreciate that or really understand that in adults, in like the teachers, that they truly see you and truly care about you, truly see potential. And we were like a gang of like people into art and stuff in my class, and he could see that, wanted to offer something for us. I think first time I actually tried painting oil for real was during this time, and we had like a project week at school where we just stopped every normal activity at school, and we had like a project week. We could choose whatever we want to do. Some made a school paper, some made like a sports camp, and I was in the art class, and we were painting in oil, and that was really cool. He showed us some techniques, and we studied a bit of the old masters, and I painted like a Rembrandt, I think. It was a part of a painting. I believe it was like a biblical figure, Petrus, I think. Not sure. An old man with a beard, much like the way I look now, coincidentally. And yeah, it meant a great deal for me. And also during this time, he's this wonderful teacher was a person. It was probably not within his scope as being a teacher. This is just probably due to who he was, and because he cared so much about us as kids and about the thing that he's teaching about art and creatives. So he arranged like after school classes for art, and we had like a sketch. We did sketching and painting like for an hour, maybe twice a week or something, after classes, after the school day was over, and like an art club. That was great. I have no idea if that was it within his scope of being a teacher. I think not. I think he's just the kind of person that could see that there was a lot of artistically interested students, and wanted to offer that to us. It was great. As you can see now, I've put a lot of stuff down, and if you know him, you could see that likeness is already there in the picture. I'm actually quite proud about this. I'm really happy when I get things to look like someone. It's not very easy, but I think, as you saw me in the beginning, I was taking extra precaution and care into making sure that the relationship between all the details went into the right places. Also, there's especially now when I'm looking back to the painting here, I can see that I appreciate this state where it's not where it's like half ready. I can see the gaps of black in the cheekbone there, and in the hair, and I don't mind. I think it's actually very nice. I think maybe in the future I'll also try out to be a little bit more like take a step back when I paint, do that more often, and see how it's going and where we're at, and if this is the way I want it to look, the kind of expression I'm going for, later on I'm going to fill in a lot of those black gaps, but I could have left it like that. It looks nice, it looks good. Yeah. As you see now, I'm heading over to the blue. It's a very bright blue, overall blue shirt, but with a very hectic a pattern of flowers. I don't want to paint all of the flowers because it's too much details. It'll be overwhelming. Also a lot of too much. I mean, if it was a huge painting, maybe it would make sense to paint all of the flowers. But first, I'm making like the groundwork here. Now I'm moving on from the cerulean blue to cobalt blue, and going a little bit darker here. I think I'm gonna mix some black into it. Yeah, there you go. And to make the shades, overall shades. And once like the basis of the shirt is done, that's when I'm gonna head over to kind of paint the flowers in. Yeah, you'll see. So I knew I was gonna use a lot of blue, but I didn't really know how much. This is the thing, now when I'm looking back at it, like as you can see, I was painting the brights first, and now I'm painting the shadows. In my head, it's reversed. In my head, shadows comes first, and then brightness should be on top of that. It doesn't really matter with oil, I suppose, but it's in my head, that would be the preferred order, especially if you're painting impasto, like really thick paint. It's not very thick, but if I did, I think I'm going to be more careful to think about what goes on top of another. And I remember thinking that the shadows don't look like shadows. The arm there, I was very not pleased with it. But now that I look at it, I can see the the shadows on the arm, they're quite pleasing. I kind of like it. All right, so now what I'm doing now, having a lot of linseed oil to make a very thin and not runny, but a much thinner paint, which I'm glazing kind of over. It's not truly glazing because everything is wet, so I'm yeah, it's kind of messy. So I'm kind of into making the flower patterns now, and just hope for the best, really. Yeah. And now the brush that I'm using, I moved over to that Japanese poster paint brush, a water paint brush, and it's a lovely brush to work with. It's not meant for oil at all, but I think it has so many qualities. And the Japanese brushes overall, they have some super high quality. So making some highlights there, trying to make it stand out. Since everything is wet, it's kind of difficult at this time to make like really bright, stark, contrasted lines, because as soon as I paint it in, it's gonna blend with whatever is underneath. So I need to be a little bit careful. I think at this point it's kind of looking nice, and get that feeling of that flower pattern, even if it's not totally painted. Yeah, buttons coming up. Nice. Yeah, I painted this 2 days ago, and now I'm making this voiceover and thinking about my art teacher and going back in time, thinking about the times. And it's amazing how much a picture, how many emotions it can kind of awaken. Now, obviously, this is special to me because I know this person, but maybe some of that feeling of this man, I'm not sure how old he is now. He must be, I don't know, if it was 25 years ago and he was maybe in his 30s then, 55. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, he might be in his 60s, I think. Maybe he's 60 now, in this photo that I got from my friend. Yeah, good times were had. I think painting for me, I've started painting again after a big long pause where I've not been painting much. Like now, yeah, as you can see now, holding up a lot of paint here and colors, because I don't know what backgrounds color I'm gonna use. So I was thinking about background color, and then I was thinking like, well, let's decide on that later and try and wrap up the work with the face and the head first. But I think painting for me has become a place where I can express something that is not words. So I look at this picture and I feel like there's a lot of, it has an emotional impact on me, but it's not, no words come to mind. It's like straight to the soul, straight to the heart. Okay, now I'm in this moment where like, how I'm gonna approach the background, and I made a couple of paintings where I just leave it like that, but the quality of the gesso and the oil paint is so different. So it stands out a little bit too much and looks a little bit too simple. So what I do now is just take a picture of it, and I'm gonna try out some different background colors with Pixelmator on the phone. And I had this idea of having this blue-green, like phthalo green, and I just, before committing to that, it's a big commitment. Before committing, I just want to try it in an app and see if it fits. And I could see that it really gave something to the feeling, and it has the same color as his wristband watch. I'm not sure if you can see that it is a watch that he's wearing there on the wrist, but I always felt like that color there on his wrist, even though I toned it down from what it was really in the photo, it felt a little bit out of place. But now that I made the background choice here of having the same color, it suddenly made much more sense to have that color represented in the background too. So I'm trying to prepare like a really dark color, and it doesn't really make sense, but if you see here, this is the color of the actual painting when it's not lights reflected down onto the paper. So that little snippet there was the actual color of the painting in a much more true lighting. Actually, throughout this whole process, I have a lot of reflections from the lighting and from the ceiling, so the colors are looking a little bit washed out compared to the real thing, which are more saturated. Yeah, as you can see, I'm trying to be neat with the strokes. Like looking at now, I think I should have been a little bit more neat, because often with paintings, I feel like the stroke is more important than placement of the stroke. Like the stroke direction, the care put in each stroke is very important. Like if you see sloppy strokes around another shape, like you can see I've been a little bit sloppy there. You can see I'm surrounding the shape with other shapes that has the same stroke direction as the object that the color is surrounding. That is like a big no-no. I think it just looks very cheap and simple. But most of the strokes, I think I was pretty good with. So it looks pretty good. Yeah, so now it's all very fine detail here, trying to wrap up the work. And actually, I wouldn't really, I was very mispleased with the hand, with the finger and the hand throughout the whole process. But at some points I just felt like, all right, this is where it is. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Just found it really interesting to paint the glasses. And I found it interesting that even if I hadn't painted the glasses, you can clearly see in the picture up until this point that he had glasses. And I was really happy with that. Right, so now it's time for the final touch on the hair, the final white hair. I think I'm holding the brush like a Japanese calligraphy painter. It is a Japanese brush, so it makes sense to hold the brush like that. It bends really nicely, but unfortunately I'm covering the action a bit. Yeah, I'm supporting my hand with my other hand, make sure that I'm stable in my wrist. Yeah. At this point, I wanted to make some strands of hair going outside into that, over the background. I mean, maybe that was why I allowed myself to be a little bit sloppy on on the background color because I knew that I was saving this last touch with the hair, which was going to kind of cover up for that. Yeah, it's starting to come together, and it's not too bad. It's not too shabby. Yeah, some additional work with hair. Also making, I mean, as an older man or people where the hair gets thin, you can see some of the head through the thinner hair. So it's very important to get that right, to have the feeling of skin underneath there. Yeah, I'm trying to save the hand there. I'm not sure if I made it worse or not, but yeah. If there's something I would revisit with this photo or this painting, it's the hand there. I'm trying to make it make sense. And this is like the last touch, a touch of a color of his green eyes. Yeah, starting to come together. I'm really stoked about this painting. I'm really happy how it turned out, and yeah, I consider this my best work, the best painting I've ever painted in my whole life, actually. Yeah, some shadows there on the hair. Yeah, and I'm happy that, you know, for me it's kind of full closure when you're painting your art teacher that kind of taught you how to paint. It's a little bit funny, but also it's making sense. It's very pleasing. And now the big, yeah, does it work? My idea of having the frame on the paper, yeah, I think it works. I think it works. Yeah, so here is the finished picture, and I'm really happy I did it, even though there's a lot of problems with it, like I don't know, the hand is really messed up, and the details aren't where they should be. But at some point I told myself to just, this is it, and this is where we're gonna leave it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, actually. So if you enjoyed this, once in a while I might revisit this idea of documenting the process of a painting and showing you that. So it'll be very easy to read by the thumbnail and title. So if you're not into it, just don't watch the video. But this is also like a huge part of me, this visual world, and this is stuff that's going on in my head, even as I'm creating music. So I hope you enjoy this, get a little wider picture of who I am and what I enjoy. So I'm not sure what to do with this really. Maybe I'm gonna have like a small exhibition or something, but until that, it's just something that I enjoy doing. I'm gonna make a collection of nice paintings. Yeah, and also not just nice paintings. It sounds kind of, I don't know, but I think within me the goal is to improve, and to improve my eyes, and my, you know, painting is not about putting colors on the paper. It's about seeing. I want to practice my seeing. Yeah, so improve my ability to see people. That's what I want to practice. Yeah. So if you enjoy what I'm doing here on YouTube, please consider throwing in some donation over at my Patreon. Also, I've got a web store with sample packs, and I've got a t-shirt store, and currently I'm exploring another type of merchandise store that is also tied to YouTube. So yeah, I'm gonna put up all of the links here in the description, and also the new store if you want to check that out. And please leave comments on what you would like to see in such a store. They got lots of like printable merchandise there, and yeah, maybe we could put this on a t-shirt or something. That'd be nice, or on a fine art prints. I think they have that too. In any case, thank you for watching. Peace out, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll leave you with that. Peace.